Hey guys, it's Andy here. Welcome back to another episode of Deck Doctor. This is a Naya Dinosaurs deck that was submitted by one Jason Keefer. I gotta say, at a first glance, I really enjoyed this deck. Just ramping out stupid big dinosaurs and just comboing off and doing a whole heap of ridiculous shit. It seems like a whole lot of fun. When he submitted the list, I asked him what was wrong with the deck, and he said that he loses to aggro and heavy control. He's gonna touch over the main board here. He's got a sideboard, and then we're gonna see what I did to improve the deck. So to start off his lineup, he's running a 4 of Gishath, Sun's Avatar. Massive legendary dinosaur. At an 8 cost, it's a 7/6 with Trample, Vigilance, and Haste. When it deals combat damage to a player, you reveal that many cards from the top of your library. You put any number of dinosaur cards from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. It's a card I have seen quite a bit in Naya Dinosaurs decks. Obviously, if you can get it to go off, the card's freaking insane. It's just a whole lot of value coming out of this card. He's also running a 4 of Regisaur Alpha, which is for 5, a 4/4. Other dinosaurs you control have haste, and when he hits the battlefield, you get a 3/3 green dinosaur with trample. Enable stuff like Gulta or Atali to come in and swing the turn they hit the board. It's just a great bit of value, especially with Dinosaur Tribal. 3 copies of Zetalpa, Primal Dawn. At an 8 cost, 4/8 legendary dinosaur. But it's got all of the abilities in the world. It's got flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, and indestructible. If this thing hits the board, it can win games. It's stupid hard to remove. Double strike on a 4/8 with flying is no joke. Vigilance makes it even worse, and trample's just crazy. So, just another great example for a big dumb flying dinosaur. Speaking of big dumb dinosaurs, he's also running a 2 of Gulta, the Primal Hunger. Costs X less to play, where X is the total number of power creatures you control. That's a 12/12 trampler for 12. So, if you've got 10 power worth of guys on the battlefield, at a 2 cost you get a 12/12. If you've got a Regisaur out, it's coming in with haste. Crazy. Verdant Sun's Avatar in a 2 of. It's at a 7 cost, it's a 5/5 dinosaur avatar. Whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to its toughness. I do like this card, but the amount of gain life you get off it kind of just stalls out against aggro, so it's probably a better sideboard piece. On the more utility side of the dinosaurs, he's running a 2 of Tali Primal Storm, which is for 6, a 6/6 legendary dinosaur. When it attacks, you exile the top card of each player's library, and you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying the mana cost. So being able to play our opponent's cards off the top of their deck, insanely good value. And he's also running a single copy of Zakama Primal Calamity, which is for 9, a 9/9 legendary dinosaur. The stats are crazy. It's Vigilance, Reach, and Trample, but when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you untap all lands you control. So if you can manage to ramp into this dinosaur, untapping all your lands, and then you can play something else stupid, it's usually pretty good. Or you can use any one of its 3 abilities, which are pay 3, 2 in red, you deal 3 damage to a target creature, you pay 3, 2 and a green to destroy target artifact or enchantment, or you pay 3, 2 and a white to gain 3 life. I love Zakama. I love it in EDH. It's a great card, and the card is a hell of a lot of fun. Now, to get out all these big dumb dinosaurs, the rest of the deck is pretty much just a ramp package, so he's running a 4 of Thran Temporal Gateway. Thran is a 4-cost legendary artifact with 4 tap, put target historic permanent from your hand onto the battlefield. A historic is legendary and or artifact, so these are all legendary, Zetalpa's a legendary, Gulta's a legendary, Atali's a legendary, and so is Zakama. But being able to turn 4, get any one of these things out, just cheat it in. I can see where the deck's going, and I like the idea. It's a whole lot of fun. As far as competitive goes, it's probably not the greatest, having to rely on the one card to try and do as much as you can. But he has got a little bit of redundancy or backup in the forms of a 4 of Chromatic Lantern, which is a 3-cost artifact that makes lands you control have tap for any color. It also taps for a color itself. A 4 of Llanowar Elves, which is for 1 green, 1/1 with tap add 1 green. And a 3 of Thunderherd Migration, which is for 2. At sorcery speed, as an additional cost to cast it, you either reveal a dinosaur or pay 1, and you search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Basically a rampant growth, with a little bit of a downside if you don't have a dinosaur in your hand. Obviously with Dinosaur Tribal, we're probably going to have it more often than not. A little bit of filtering, as well as mid-game ramp in the form of treasure maps, which is for 2, it's 1 tap, scry 1, put a landmark counter on it. When it's got 3, you flip it, and you get 3 treasures and this land, which is Treasure Cove. Taps for colorless, or you can tap to sack a treasure and draw a card. I'm a big fan of treasure map. I've run it in a whole lot of decks. It's great to filter cards off the top, or draw a card if you need it. Looking at the land base, he's running a 8 of Forests, a 4 of Rootbound Crag, a 3 of Clifftop Retreat, a 2 of Temple Garden, a 2 of Sunpetal Grove, 3 mountains, and 2 plains. The land base could probably use a little bit of tweaking. Obviously, the Chromatic Lanterns are in here as a great way to fix the land base, but I feel like you could probably do it without it. Just touching over his sideboard here, You can see this is where he's running a 3 of Carnage Torrent. 6 cost 7/6, can't be countered, trample hexproof. Great card. Running a 3 of Deafening Clarion, which is for 3. You choose one or both. You deal 3 damage to each creature, and creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. 2 copies of Banefire, obviously for the control matchups. X and 1 at sorcery speed, you do X damage to a target. If it's more than 5, damage can't be prevented and it can't be countered. Bit of graveyard hate in the form of Sentinel Totem. Enters the battlefield, you scry 1, tap, sack it, exile all cards from all graveyards. A bit of extra ramp and gain life in the form of Gift of Paradise, which is a 3 cost enchant land. When it hits the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and it makes the enchanted land tap, add 2 mana of any one color. And 2 copies of the Immortal Sun. At a 6 cost, it's pretty steep, but we can ramp quite a bit, or we can play it out with Thran. So you should be able to hit it pretty reliably. Players can't activate Planeswalker loyalty abilities. Kind of hoses Planeswalkers. It gives you additional draw card. It makes your creatures cheaper. And it gives you Anthem effect to all your creatures. Do like it, Immortal Sun, but I think there's other ways that you can get around this. So that is Jason Keefer's version of Naya Dinosaurs. Keeping in mind trying to improve against control and improve against aggro, especially in game 1. Let's see what I did with the deck. As we can see here, we're running a lot of the same stuff that we saw in the original list. I've just tweaked the numbers a bit. I'm also running a few alternate options in the main deck and taking out some of the dinosaurs to replace with stuff that's going to help us in the control and or aggro matchups. So we're sticking with the 4 of Regisaur. It's an awesome card. Allows our creatures to swing in with haste the turn they come in. Generates a dinosaur. 7 power worth of bodies at a 5 cost with an Anthem effect. It's great. We see we moved the Carnage Torrents into the main board here. Obviously, it's great in the control matchups, but being hexproof in the aggro matchups also, it's an all-star. Not being able to target this with anything means they've got to try and chump block it or have stuff to chain block it to be able to kill it. So having this in the main deck in game 1 is a lower curve creature, swinging in as a 7/6, trample hexproof, can't be countered. Everything about this card is great. You want to be running it in the main board. There's a reason it's so expensive. It's just great. It's not something you want to be trying to sideboard in if your game plan is just trying to get big dumb dinosaurs out and beat face as quick as possible. I cut down the Gishaths to a 2 of. Gishath is great, but you don't want to hit Gishath off Gishath because then you're going to end up with dinosaurs that you can't play. So reducing it to a 2 of allows us to still have the Gishath available to do that bit of tech, but it's not something that we want to be doing all the time. Trying to make the deck a little bit faster off the ground. By reducing the numbers of this a little bit, I'm lowering the curve. I've increased the ramp, which is going to help us out as well. So trying to run stuff that's a little bit lower to the ground, play it more into a mid-range style deck than what seemed to be a kind of janky kind of combo deck, which just revolved around Gishath and Thran, basically. So we're running a 2 of Golta still, a 2 of Zatalpa, a 2 of Atali, and still the Zakama. I love the Zakama. If we can ramp into it, it's a great bit of tech. Obviously, if you have a 9/9 with Vigilance, Reach, and Trample hit the board, he's still going to be a great card. Drop this down to 2 copies of the Thran Temporal Gateway. Being a legendary artifact, it's kind of a dead card if we've already got one out. I did like the idea of being able to play any one of the big creatures at a 4 cost, but with increasing the ramp, we can more reliably just play our 5 cost, 6 cost stuff, which means we don't need to be running this as often as we were before. More for the aggro matchups, we're running 2 copies of Settle the Wreckage in the main board. At a 4 cost, you exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search the library for that many basic land cards, put those cards onto the battlefield tapped. The 3 copies of Deafening Clarion, straight into the main board. It's great against aggro with the life gain and the sweeper, dealing 3 damage to each creature. I took out the 2 cost ramp and replaced it with Commune with Dinosaurs. Commune with Dinosaurs is at a 1 green, it's at sorcery speed, but you can look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a dinosaur or land card from among them and put that card into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in any order. So one of the big problems I saw with the deck originally was it only had the Lenua Elves as the early game play. But being able to have Commune with Dinosaurs means we're going to be able to kind of filter off the top. We can get the dinosaur that we need, or we can... So in the early game, we can get the land that we need, or in the mid to late game, we can get the dinosaur that we need, and the rest just gets shifted to the bottom. The card's great. I've played it in other dinosaur tribal decks before, and it's performed really, really well. We're still running the 4 of Lenua Elves, and we're also running a 4 of Drover of the Mighty, which is for 2, it's a 1/1. It's a human druid, and it gets +2/+2 as long as you control a dinosaur. And it's also got tap, add 1 of any color mana to your mana pool. So the combination of this, along with a tweaked land-based, is the replacement for the Chromatic Lantern. Also adding a low-curve beater as soon as we have a dinosaur hit the board. So once we have like a Regisaur or a Carnage out, it's a low-curve body that we can play against aggro. Just a great card. Touching over the tweaked land base here, I'm now running a 3 of Temple Garden, a 2 of Sunpetal Grove, a 2 of Sacred Foundry, and a 2 of Clifftop Retreat, a 4 of Stomping Ground, a 4 of Rootbound Crag, 4 copies of Forest, 2 Plains, and 2 Mountains. With the tweaking to the land base that I have done, we're more reliably going to be able to get to the 3 colours that are in the deck, as well as being able to hit double green or double white as often as we need to in the deck. So with the amount of ramp now in the deck and the land being fixed, turn 3 we're going to be able to play stuff like Regisaur, turn 4 we're going to be able to play Carnage Torrents, and it's just going to get the ball rolling from there. Just speeding it up a couple of ticks so that you can actually stand a chance against aggro. Because in the previous version, if you didn't have the Thran Temporal Gateway, the deck would kind of just fall on its face. With this version of it, you're more reliably going to ramp into it. The big onslaught of the legendary dinosaurs that were in the deck, we're still going to be able to hit with the Thran. So it's still a useful card. It's just not something that I wanted to see in a 4 of. But to stay true to the deck, it's something that I wanted to keep a couple of copies in, at least. Touching on the changes to the sideboard, kept the 2 copies of Banefire for the control matchups, the Sentinel Totems for the graveyard matchups. Playing a Planeswalker answer that's a bit lower to the curve, we're playing 2 copies of Sorcerer's Spyglass, which is for 2. As Sorcerer's Spyglass enters the battlefield, you look at target opponent's hand, you choose any card name. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. Shuts down Planeswalkers. 2 copies of Shalai, Voice of Plenty. Absolutely hoses the mono red deck that's running like 12 bolts, 20 bolts, or whatever it is. Which is at a 4 cost, it's a 3/4 Flying Angel. And you, Planeswalkers you control, and other creatures you control have hexproof. It's also got pay 6, so 4 and 2 green. You put a +1 counter on each creature you control. We're going to be able to ramp reliably in this deck that we're actually going to be able to use that +1 counter ability. It's great against control because it saves all of our creatures. It paints a target on her head, but at least they're not killing our big dinosaurs that way. Just a great card. Also running a 4 of Nullhide Ferox in the sideboard here. Straight into the deck after a control matchup. It's another great card against aggro. It's lower to the curve. At a 4 cost, it's a 6/6 beast with hexproof, and you can't cast non-creature spells. It's also got pay 2. Nullhide Ferox loses all its abilities until end of turn, and any player may activate this ability. If the spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard Nullhide Ferox, you put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. A few of the control decks are running targeted discard, having a 6/6 for 4 that they can't target with that, or anytime they want to target it once it's on the battlefield, anything costing 2 more to remove the hexproof, or just they can't target it. The card's insane in the right matchups. Also running a bit of single target removal in the form of Lava Coil, which is for 2 at sorcery speed, you do 4 damage to target creature. If it would die, you exile it instead. It's just a great bit of removal to have in the sideboard. And that's my version of Naya Dinosaurs. Hopefully, Jason, it's stayed true enough to what you were trying to do with the deck, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to see new videos as they were released. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, you can throw me $1 on my Patreon at patreon.com/ZandersQuest. And I will see you guys in the next video. Keep questing, guys.